administration because he believed that I was good in the business world. So that was really a summary of how I got into the sciences.
Thank you very much for Ronke. I believe good parenting is about identifying your children's strengths and passion and then guide them to make the right choice. What happened in your own case? Why was what you want different from what your parents identified
Okay,
as your
that's a good
strength?
question. So they identified correctly my strength. So I am good in the sciences. I still am because I still help my 14-year-old with her homework. I still understand all the anatomy and physiology. I still understand the elements on the periodic table. I can still write ClO2. I still understand my physics. I still understand a lot in science, and I enjoy it. However, it was not my zone. So what you might be able to do something doesn't mean that it's your passion. And like I said, I probably haven't said yet that I was also in banking for 10 years and I excelled. So I was excelling. However, the fulfillment that I needed, I didn't get it. So I won't say that they didn't know what my strength was. It was obvious from my results that I was doing very well. However, I was doing well in all my subjects. I finished with all A's, except for, I think it was Yoruba or something like that, that I got a B or something. I can't remember. And but I had mainly all A's, and I was excelling in the science. My teachers were convinced that I would also be a doctor, so they spotted that correctly. However, me being in the lab wasn't fun for me. I'm wearing a lab coat and just moving around. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. I felt my life could be more fun than what it was. So that was when I began to, and then obviously maybe because of the opportunity in the UK as well, because coming from Nigeria, and when I moved out, I began to see that there was so much more, and I wanted something else. I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew that it wasn't medicine.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that clarification. So now this is when I want you to help our parents out there. How can we strike a balance, a successful balance between what parents want and what a child wants to be?
Now, we need to understand first of all that the children are not ours. I mean, we've been made to believe that we own these children, but we're just custodians of these children, and they all have a purpose. God has put a unique and innate purpose for every child. We're just there to support them. So the child in himself or herself will show indications. So a lot of people project on their children. They want to choose what the child will do, the career that the child will do, or what they think suits the child, and that's the wrong way to go. Now, when you are there to guide, expose the child to as many activities, as many extracurricular activities and academic work, and try and see where the child's strength is. See what the child also enjoys. However, you must also engage the child to ask the child, what is it that you want to do? What do you think you want to do? And then guide the child. It might not be something that you're familiar with, because a lot of people are familiar with some subjects or careers like journalism or medicine or architecture or law. However, especially if you're parenting a Generation Z child these days, you need to understand that they are doing things that are completely different. So my daughter, for example, she is in year 9 and had to make a choice of the subject she had to do. But she said she wasn't sure what she wanted, and she was doing well in all her subjects. But she knew she liked tech. So before now, I had started taking her to some tech organizations just to volunteer and speak to people and have an idea what to do. So because I didn't want to say, oh, you're good at this, go and do it. I wanted it to come from inside of her. As time went on, she said she liked computing. And then as she moved on, she said she wanted to do software development. So in that, I went into my community and I said, who are the software developers here? She spoke to about 5 software developers. By the time she spoke to all those developers, we realized that it was actually software engineering that she had to do. So the answers were not with her, neither were they with me. So it was in exploring and in asking questions that we realized that it was actually software engineering. Now the pandemic has happened and she's been coding and she's gone through Python, which is a programming language, 2 hours a day, every single day for the past 3 months. You'll be amazed at what she has learned. Now, when we started this journey, I never knew that what she was going to be able to do. So we must engage the children, we must explore, and we must also seek third parties if we have to, because we don't have all the answers for our children.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Parents, I believe we are all here, on this journey of self-discovery. But along the line, we might have to learn about our children in order for us to be a better parent, in order for us to parenting, right. I love something that Francesca said here. She said, exactly, they are not ours. We are only custodians, and that is what we are. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us this afternoon. Joy, it's been a while. Thank you very much for joining us. Please help us share this video. She said, yes, the parent is not ownership, but caretaker. Thank you very much for your comment. Come across your nickname, Ronke Posh. I just love that name.
So my nickname, Ronke Posh, I will tell you, many years ago, whilst I was in banking, and before I used to be an event planner for children. And how did I stumble on it? It was just somebody had given a party bag, and I said, oh wow, this party bag, I really can create a posh party bag, some kind of posh effect. I can do something a lot better than this. So my friends were there, they were like, oh, Madam Posh, oh yeah, Posh, everything. And then they used to think, because I don't think they're correct, they used to think that if I used to act posh, and I don't think so. I don't quite agree, because I'm just as down to earth as a regular girl. So I started doing the party bags, and from that, it just grew immediately. It just grew, and I had to register the company, and I had to find a name for the company. And what came to me naturally, because it was what the word that had been used around me is posh. I just said, you know what? Let me just let me call it Posh Party Bags. So I started calling it Posh Party Bags. When it was time for the school, I called it Posh Babies and Kids. And we outgrew the nursery. We had to have a primary school, and we couldn't call primary school children posh babies, so it was Le Posh. So the posh has followed me. So, and then the Ronke Posh is just came naturally. It just came naturally. Thanks, Francesca. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I just want to encourage somebody out there. When people say something about you, you need to be very, you need to listen attentively, and just don't think that everything is a joke. They might be directing you into your calling or into your purpose as well.
Why the move to Nigeria?
Yes.
The move to Nigeria, there were many reasons why I moved to Nigeria. I had to write them down so that if anything happened, I'll be sure that I had valid reasons of moving to Nigeria. So I will share a few of the reasons why, because they were quite extensive. So one of the reasons, I'm a daddy's girl, I'm a mommy's girl. One of the reasons why I moved to Nigeria, I wanted to be with my parents. I didn't feel they should grow old without their children, because we were all abroad. So I just felt, life is that. I really won't want that. I needed to go back home for that. I was also working in banking, and I was rising up. But I knew, and I felt, and I know that there's always a glass ceiling. There's always a glass ceiling for we Black people. That's just it. So I could sense it, I could feel it, I could tell that there were some positions that I will not get into, not because I didn't have the skills, but I just felt, And I also felt that I had a purpose in Nigeria. I had this conviction. I had this thing. I won't say the Holy Spirit or the Lord. I just had this thing that you have to move to Nigeria. You have so much to give to Nigeria. Wow. You need to move to Nigeria. So I looked at that as well. I had a little girl. I still have her, and I will have her for the rest of my life. So help me God. And I wanted her to also have that African Nigerian factor embedded in her life. Wow. I needed her to have that. So it was also part of the reason why I wanted to have a Nigerian education, at least for her primary and her secondary school life. Maybe later on, A-levels, university, and she can move anywhere else. But I needed that. So those were some of the reasons why I decided to come to Nigeria.
Thank you. I love those points that you have highlighted. And I believe, Ronke might just be speaking to somebody, listening to us this afternoon. You might be thinking, I want to make that move. because of my parents. Yes, it is a valid move. And it is not all of us that are meant to be here in UK or in abroad. Some of us something happened, Ronke. Again, people watching us this afternoon, I really want you to help us share this video because Ronke is about to be pouring out to us now. And she's always something happened that could discourage you, Ronke, when you got to Nigeria. Can you please explain?
So when I moved to Lagos, Nigeria, I moved in August of 2011, and I moved with my daughter. My husband did not move immediately, and he didn't move immediately, and we just continued. So the school was set to open, and we opened on the 7th of February 2012, and everything seemed lovely. We had about 1 or 2 kids, and then my husband joined us in December of 2011. On the 7th of February 2012, my husband and I were lying in bed, and so suddenly we heard the door open, and we just sprung together. You know, it's like, what's happening here? Just like in sync, both of us got up together, and we realized that we had company, and it definitely wasn't company that we had invited. So we had armed robbers, and we were asked to stay on the ground. We had flashlights in our eyes, we couldn't see them.
Wow.
We had to lie down. My husband was a bit too British at that time, I think, because he had lived most of his life in the UK. So he raised an alarm, and he was badly beaten. He was beaten so much that there was a lot of blood around. My daughter slept through it, thankfully, so the trauma wasn't really there. But my husband was badly beaten. In fact, they attempted to strike him with a metal object at some point. When the metal object struck the ground, it actually broke the tile on the floor. So I could just imagine if it was his head, because he literally just went and they hit. So he what's it called? He was badly beaten, but the impact of the beating did not happen till a few months later, June. So in June, and before June, he was complaining of headaches. So to cut the long story short, he went to hospital. They did a scan and found out that he had been hemorrhaging internally. So we had to have an emergency operation. We had to rush him to Ibadan. And we were told that there's no way that he could make it, because I was like, okay, let's get a second opinion and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, madam, we know you are from England, we know this and that, but this man can't even make it. Forget it. He has to have this up. Just rush him to Ibadan, because right now in Lagos, the doctors were on strike. So we rushed him, and he had to have 2 double borehole surgeries in his head. At this point, he even lost his memory. When he did the surgery, he didn't recognize anybody. His head was like 3 times the size of my head. He was, it was such a traumatic time for the family. Eventually, he wasn't recuperating. He became anorexic. We had to send him back to the UK to recuperate and just get some healing. So it was quite a tough time for the family. And this lasted for almost 2 years, about 18 months it lasted, of just back and forth on just trying to make sure that he's alive and he's well and everything is going on okay. But to the glory of God, today he's doing very well.
Wow. That's not a good experience by any standard.
No.
It wasn't. But how were you able to come out of that trauma?
I think for me, it wasn't immediate. For about a year, I couldn't sleep properly. If a pin dropped, I would hear it. I would jump to the window and check if they were coming. My daughter slept in my bed for months and months, especially when my husband was not around. Even maybe over a year, she was always in my bed. We found like safety in each other. So I didn't go out much. The gates would be locked at, maybe 6, 7 o'clock. As long as I come back from work, I'm just locking the gates. I wasn't trusting at all, because the people that set us up actually were, one of them was a domestic worker that we had hired. And so I just didn't feel I could trust anybody around me. As a matter of fact, I had to let so many people go at that time because I didn't trust. So Um, but there was this one night where, or one day, where I had the scripture come to me that said
Mm.
that or two scriptures, the thief comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy, but I've come to
Mm.
give you life and give you an abundant life. The
Mm.
scripture also said, and the scripture also said, he that the Son of God has set free is
It's
free
free.
indeed.
Wow.
So I just said,
Thank
I better hold on to this because I'm not free. I don't sleep. I'm scared of everything. Everything scares me. You know,
Mm.
everything scares me. But despite my fear, I knew that
Mm.
I didn't have to go back to the UK. That was one thing I was certain of. I had
Wow.
nothing told me that I should go back to the UK. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I checked that book that had written the reasons why I came to
Mm.
Nigeria. And that's why it's also good for us to journal and write out
I
our
think
whys, our
wow.
whys.
Thank
So I
you.
looked at it, and my whys were so compelling. I knew that I didn't have to go back to the UK, but I was living in fear. So when I leveraged on those scriptures, I found that I started sleeping well. I started sleeping better. In fact, the first night that I slept throughout, from night to morning, and I woke up, I was actually like telling myself, "Oh, how can you sleep like that? You know, what if the armed robbers came? You wouldn't have known. You just slept like a baby." But from then on, it just became better and better to the glory of God. I was able to
Thank
sleep better, and yes, the Son of Man, he indeed set me free.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Sorry to hear that, Ronke. Thank God you're doing well now. She's only just starting. She's got a lot to share with us this evening. And again, to encourage us out there, during this period of COVID-19, I don't know how it might have affected us, differently. And I just want you to know that be rest assured that the Lord is He has come to set us free. It's not that He's going to set us free,
Yep.
but the Lord has set us free from this COVID-19, and we will all come out of it triumphantly. During my pre-interview with you said to me that after the incident, then you went on a journey of discovery. That after the incident, can you please share with my viewers and
My
my listeners
journey
what you
of
meant by that?
self-discovery, um, when this thing happened, one of the things I started doing was I was writing. I started writing because I love to write. I still write. I write daily, and I've been writing daily for years. And I was writing and writing, and after a while, I guess I started putting them online, sharing my story online. And I noticed that people were engaging in my
Mm,
stories. They would
mm,
engage, they would ask. So I just continued. And in doing that, I got a lot of relief in doing that, sharing, and people started sending me their own messages as well. So I continued to share.
mm,
And then it just became something I put on a website, and I started to share tips about how to hire domestic workers, and people would download it and use it. People would call me. I had a dedicated line. People would call me for tips. I wasn't charging for this service, but it gave me a lot of strength, and it
mm,
made me happy doing it. So I continued to do it, and as I continued to journey, I realized also that people were sharing with me stories of abuse, that their
mm,
children had been abused, either physically or verbally or sexually. So I started to research this as well. And we found that a lot of people have been molested by domestic workers. A lot of
mm,
men, their first sexual experience was actually with a domestic worker, whether they were
mm,
older than them, whether they were younger than them, or whether it was forced or whether it was mutual. So
mhm,
I started to talk about domestic workers and how you should be careful and how you should empower your children in doing
mm,
that. So I
mm.
continued. I just now began to know that God wanted me to carry a message about.
Wow.
He really wanted me to do something with this message.
Mm,
So I was exploring, and there's this saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. So as I
mm,
continued to journey, I started to meet people that
mm,
were kind of like on their own journeys of discovery. I started to
mhm,
meet people, and I started to encounter things. I started to
mm,
see ads online about things that would interest me. So one of the things that I was curious about one was something called neuro linguistic programming, and they had a session where I joined them, and I wanted to find out what it was about because it didn't make sense. I checked it on the internet; it didn't make any sense. But when I went for the experience, I realized that this is probably going to be what would really bring this light bulb moment for me.
Wow.
Very, very expensive program, incredibly expensive, still is. But I joined anyway. I just said, you know what, I've got to do this. And I want to say today that it is one of the greatest and most fulfilling things I've done in my life. Just
Wow.
taking that course. And it was not just one course. I mean, it had 3 modules. It was a lot, a whole lot. And it's draining and it's draining. But in doing that, I discovered so many things. So many things about my life, so many things about the patterns, the things that I do. You know, I realize that even when I'm looking at somebody like you, the reason why you're folding your hands and nodding your head, there's a reason why you do that. There's a reason why you smile the way that you smile. There's a reason why you sit the way that you do. Anything you do, there's no coincidence. Anything that you do, there's a pattern. There's a reason why you do it. So I realized that I'm made up of my upbringing. I'm made up of my significant emotional experiences. I'm made up of everything, my environment, the people around me. They form my thought patterns and my perspectives. Anything I do, the way I cook is from somebody, but does it make it right? It taught me to question things, not to take everything verbatim. So I began to question, why is this like this? Why is that like that? You know, the story of the lady who was chopping up her chicken into 4 pieces and baking them in quarters. Who never knew the reason why she did that? And she asked her mom, and mom said because grandma did it. And when they checked with grandma said it was because I have a small oven. And then they all have big ovens, but they never questioned why do we eat our meat or our protein last in Africa? We like to eat our protein after the rice, or we eat the eba and amala and then eat the meat after. Why don't we eat the protein first? Because we've been programmed. Some kind of programming has been installed in us. And it doesn't mean that if you eat your meat first that it's wrong. So I began to question things. I began to do things intentionally the opposite way, as long as it was ecological. And by ecological, I mean as long as it was healthy to do and it was constructive to do. So I started to disrupt the way people think. You know, why do you even have children? Do you have children because it's the next thing to do? I had a group of about 5,000 and I asked them then, why did you have children? And it was only one lady that was able to even give me a reasonable answer. Every other person was telling me that, oh, after secondary school, university, what else is there to do? Is to marry and have children. You know, it was just, the people were following a pattern. They were not questioning the reason why they do things. And that's why some people, you find that they probably weren't designed to marry when they married, or to whom they married, or to be in an environment in which they married. Some people are not even meant to marry Africans. They have a first world mentality and they're married to a man with a third world mentality. The marriage will never ever work. But then your parents have told you must marry somebody from your village, because we're not questioning. We just continue to do things. So this was the journey that I went through. I went through this journey. I began to question. I began to share and share and share and learn and relearn. And I realized that after some time, I was now the go-to person. People will call me and ask me about questions when it comes to parenting, when it comes to education, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to empowerment. People were calling me. I was getting sessions. I was getting paid for it. And I didn't plan it this way. You know, I just planned to have a daycare and that was it. So the school was growing to the glory of God. And people just asked me questions. And that was just it. That was just the journey for me. And I'm still on that journey. And I think I'll still be on that journey for the rest of my life.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But the thing that struck me was, you know, on the journey of discovering, you were still learning. You didn't allow what happened to you to hold you down or to hold you bound, not to be able to move forward. You allow your pain to be a purpose for others. And this is my next question. You know, why were you giving back? Because everything that you were learning, you were giving back to the community, to people. Why? Why are you doing that?
You know, in giving, you get more. That one I've always known. It's like sowing and reaping. In giving, you definitely get more. In fact, in marketing, people know now that if you give, you get more. It's the law of sowing and reaping. And in giving, I realized that because I was giving, people will send me information. My phone, I had to increase, like the phone I'm using now has, I think it's 64 gig. And then I have a memory card of 128 gig. Why? Because people were always they still are always sending me things. So no matter what I give out, people are constantly giving me back. Am I going to die with all this information? Because as we said, a lot of people have so many ideas and they're all buried in the grave. So I knew that what I was sharing was helping people, and it gave me a sense of fulfillment. Somebody would tell me that their child was giving them challenges, and I will tell them, okay, try this, and it will work, and they will come back and they will write on social media and say, and tag me and say, oh, Academy said I should try this sort of thing, and it worked for me. So many tools. And people that, especially now that a lot of people are smacking and beating and flogging or whatever term they want to use. There was a time where I dedicated my time to helping people know that.
Don't go on that one yet. Someone sent a question.
Sorry?
That. I said, don't go there yet, because somebody sent a question for you for that. So we're going to talk about that later. I love something that Francesca wrote here. She said, yes, self-discovery is a journey without destination. Thank you very much, Ma, for dropping that there. Right, going back to the reason why you went back to Nigeria, were you able to achieve your aim despite the robbery?
My aim, I mean, just like she said, there's no final point. I'm still at it. I don't know what God is going to do with my life, what more He's going to do with my life in Nigeria. Because sometimes I do get frustrated and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back, But I know I just bluffing. It's not yet time. Maybe the time will come, but right now it's not the time. So I have been able to achieve a number of things. At least my daughter has been in school for 8 years in Nigeria. I've been able to impact the lives of people in many, many, many ways than I thought I would be able to do. And obviously by the special grace of God. I get this sense of fulfillment. I know and I feel that I'm living. I'm not just working. Each day is not a working day for me. It is it's a living day, a life of purpose. So I enjoy my time more. Even if I have to work till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, I know that I'm living. Whereas when I was in the UK and I was in banking, I was contracting. My daily rate was incredibly high. In fact, when I was leaving, my colleagues, my boss said, how can you be living at this time in the project? Are you out of your mind, Ade? Are you out of your mind? But I just had this peace that I had to go. I had this peace. So it was, for me, not a money thing. Because I had a great life in the UK. We had our home. We were driving a brand new Range Rover. We had a business that was thriving. We were doing events every weekend. Some of them 1,500, 2,000 pounds a day, and would have a party, and we would have 3, 4 parties. And really, we were mad to be coming back to nothing, to an unknown. It was really an unknown, but the peace of God indeed surpasses all understanding. That peace was just enough, and we came with the peace. And as time went on, I actually realized that armed robbery was actually, it was actually something that God allowed to happen in our lives, especially for me. God allowed it to happen. Just like the story of Job. He allowed, he said, anything can happen to him, but don't touch his soul. Nothing must happen to Job. So I believe that when that thing happened to me, God wanted to teach me something. Everything was stolen. Because when we came, we felt we were prepared. My sister had started coming to Nigeria. I had spoken to friends. I knew what to buy. At that time it was the BlackBerry phone. We had backup BlackBerry phones. We had everything. So when they stole everything, the armed robbers must have spent the whole night. They left at in the morning, about 6 in the morning. They smoked, they had drinks, they turned everything, they cleared the whole house, took everything. So after they left, I just said out loud, I said, now what? Now what? Because nothing was left. But it was as clear as daylight. Now God.
That's it.
Now God.
That's it. Thank you.
And that was like, what? Now God came. So I was like, I knew that I had put all my resources and my faith, even though I was born again for many years. My true confidence was not in God. It was actually because I had a lot of money and I had a lot of gadgets and things. So I felt anything that happened, I'll be okay. But now that everything was taken away, I had no choice but to trust God.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I believe your faith must have been lifted up now. I believe you're being encouraged by Ronke's to achieve their purpose. And I believe it's mainly because of some limiting beliefs. Did you at any point or at any time when you're going through all of this, encounter any limiting beliefs, and how did you overcome them if you did?
So yes, there are usually limiting beliefs in life. The devil will always tell you that you can't do things, you can't do it. You will feel a bit discouraged. Those limiting beliefs. When I started the school, there were some practices that were happening in Nigeria in big schools that I didn't buy into. I didn't buy into them at all. However, every time I wanted to do something, or many times I wanted to do something, I will have this thing in my mind saying, "Oh, who do you think you are? Big schools are not even doing it. You and your little school, you want to do it. What makes you feel so special? What makes you feel you can do it? What makes you think you can have a great school? What makes you think you can impact what they will listen to you? What do you even know? What do you know in the educational sector? People have been there for 20 years, 30 years. How long have you been in education? You'd have all those things, but I just decided to take each day as it came. I took each day as it came, and I started getting some opportunities. People will call me to come and interview some teachers or to pick out heads of schools for big schools that have had people that have had 20, 30 years experience, more than I have. And they'll call me, and I started to question and say, why are they calling me when these people have significantly more experience than I do? And I started to realize that it was the use of tech. A lot of them were stuck in their old ways. So in doing all those things and taking each day at a time, I was overcoming my limiting beliefs. I was using my affirmations, and I was believing and saying to myself, for a long time in my group, we're talking about affirmation. I can do all things. So I can do this. I am strong. I am able. I can get through this. We're going through. I was sharing with the women in my group to say, yes, we can do this, and we did, and I did also overcome all those limiting beliefs. And also, as part of the journey of self-discovery, I did so many courses that also empowered me, also helped me know that indeed I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The limiting beliefs are still there. They're not going to go away. Every time someone calls you, you still, I'm sure when you contacted me, I still said, why me? You said, why not you? But you will still ask, really. You will say, no matter who you are, you will never come to a point where you arrive and say, oh, it just has to be me, or things like that. I think when you come to that position, then it's a position of idolatry, and I don't believe that is what God truly wants for us.
Because I know that you are a coach and you encounter a lot of people. From your experience, can you share with us some of the limiting beliefs that people hold on to that can stop them from achieving great success in life?
I think one of the things is people always believe that they are not good enough. And there's this fear of failure that is very, very common in people. So what if I fail? And I say, what if you fly? What if you fly? What if you don't fail? Why don't you just do it anyway? Everybody that has done something great have been afraid. If there's no fear involved, there's no faith that you can use. So you need your fear and you need your faith. You need to believe that you are enough. Oftentimes, a lot of people have gone through a lot of physical abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse, grief, anger, pain, hurt, unforgiveness, different sort of baggage. People have gone through them, and they are carrying them, and it's weighing them down. So anytime they want to do something, the devil brings it up and tells you, look at you. You were raped. You were abused. Your father died. He was very poor. What makes you think you're good enough? You're not as beautiful as the girl next door. The ones that are doing it are so awesome. Look at the guys that are doing it. They are doing well. They have a lot of connections. One limiting belief was, when I came, I didn't know people in Lagos. And people were telling me, okay, you have to mix with certain people, politicians' wife, and you just start going to greet them and give them gifts. But I knew it wasn't for me. I wasn't raised that way. So your value system is very important. I knew it wasn't for me. And I also knew that whatever success that comes out of my story, The glory has to go to God alone. You can't go to
God.
somebody that gave one connection. I'm not saying that God is not going to use people. He uses people, but I wasn't going to put myself in a situation that man will be the one to take the glory. So always believe that you are enough, and always believe that even if you fail, you will fail forward. You will learn from the mistakes and you will rise up again.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. People might have been listening to you this afternoon or will watch this video later, and they will say, or might be saying, it's easier for you to say all this because you have capital. You know, they might tell from your name, Posh, that you have the capital, and you know your purpose. You know people of influence and all that. What is your advice to this category of people who are yet to identify their purpose and they are, making or allowing capital to limit them or to stop them from doing whatever they want to do in life?
Okay, so when you mentioned, I know people of influence, any network that I have now was built intentionally. If you want friends, you have to show yourself to be friendly. So it was built intentionally. Like I said, I didn't know anyone in Lagos. So anybody I know today was intentional. And in terms of capital, remember that I said that we had the armed robbery and we had to go back to ground zero. We had to go back to ground zero. We were robbed. We couldn't even call my emergency service because we had no phone. I couldn't call my dad or anybody because there was no phone. Luckily, I knew his number. We had to go to the neighbor's house to ask for their phone to call my parents and my husband's parents to tell them that something had happened to us. We were at ground zero. So you can actually start from whatever you have. You know, was it Moses that God asked, what is in your hand? What is in your hand? And all he had was a rod. What do you have in your hand? And I know that many of us have more than a rod. The fact that you have a smartphone alone means that you can do so many things. In this day and age of technology, where everybody was behind the scenes and everybody had to be at home, it was no longer a case of capital anymore. It really wasn't. It was a case of what can you actually leverage on technology to do. A lot of people started doing digital marketing. A lot of people learned graphic work. A lot of people were using their phones to create e-content, digital content, training people. That didn't require too much capital. That was just a case of data. If you have that value to give, people will want to listen to you. When COVID started, I did training to school leaders. All I had to do was get my PowerPoint presentation out and I put the facts down. I did some videos. Just using my smartphone, I was able to create a course that people paid for and learned from. Knowledge is, I have a friend that says knowledge is the new gold. What knowledge do you have to share? Somebody will always be willing to buy from you. So we can actually start with very, very little.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Abdul Majid, it's saying society can also limit people's aspirations. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Take your picture out, Ronke. People send comments, questions I want to ask you. Good afternoon, beautiful mind. Thank you for this topic. I know my purpose and I have discovered my passion, but my husband is not in support. How can I convince him to support me? That's a question for you now.
Okay. When I started this journey, well, even before I started in Nigeria, when I started doing the parties in the UK, I was in bank. In fact, even before that, when I was in medical school, I had a job. I worked at what they call it now, 3. I think they call it double 3 now or something, 3 network or something. But then it was T-Mobile anyway. It was T-Mobile when I worked there, and I earned like £1,000 a day, a month. And I met somebody who was earning £250 a day then contracting. And that was even in a week, they were earning more than I worked in a month. And my brain was just scattering like, how can anybody earn £250 a day? That was how little my thinking was then. I couldn't believe it. So what I did, I said, I started following her and asking her, what did you do? How did you, I couldn't believe it. But thankfully, Busala, she's also on a Facebook friend. she taught me many things. She told me the courses that I had to take. I took the Prince 2 course that time. I did project management. I do a lot of courses. And I'm saying that to still answer the point. So when I was doing it, I told my husband that I met this girl that earns 250 pounds a day. I really want to do what she's doing and earn that kind of money. And he was like, what makes you think you can earn that kind of money? He probably didn't say that out of spite, but probably from his own thinking. Like, what makes you think I earn that kind of money? That's a lot of money. And do you know how many years experience she has to have done it? But this girl was still telling me that it doesn't matter my years of experience, that anytime I have an interview, I should just call her. She must make herself available. You know what I said? When the student is ready, the teacher will show up. Anyway, she helped me, supported me. My first job was at Santander, which was Abe National at the time. And I got a job and I was earning 275 pounds a day, over and beyond the 250 that I was even targeting. And I brought it and I said to my husband, I'm earning 275. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. To the point when I was earning over 500 pounds a day, he still couldn't believe it. I continued and continued and continued and continued for years. So sometimes if you want somebody to, some people don't have to buy into your vision. Your seed, in fact, sometimes you don't share with everybody. That's just the reality. Some people will not believe it until they see it, until they see the manifestation. Because when we were doing the parties as well, one of the first machines I bought was a popcorn machine. My one didn't even believe that it could go anywhere. He just thought maybe another, because I'm always interested in so many things. He didn't even believe that the business would pick up to that extent. We bought popcorn machine, bought slush machine, but after a while, people were even copying us. They're trying to be like us. I went for balloon architecture training with Topa Bulude and so many other trainings. And I will be creating Mickey Mouse with balloons, creating princesses, huge, massive, expensive parties. We're charging like 1,500, 2,000, and I'm talking about 2002, 2003, 4, 5, 8, those days. Even today, it's still good money. We're earning that. And we started with one party, then 2 parties. We're hiring people. Then we'll have Saturday and Sunday parties. And I was still contracting and canary work at Barclays Bank. And we're earning all this money. But the point is, he never bought into it from the beginning. He didn't buy into it from the beginning. So he may not buy into the vision because he probably cannot see what God has shown you. But do it respectfully and in love, because they're not doing it because they hate you. They're just doing it because they can't see what you see. So just do it and just say, okay, I will be doing it on the side and blah, 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 and just see how it goes. I just like it. And you do it. And as it grows, you'll be surprised. They will now become your number one support.
They will follow. Thank you. Right, I've got another one for you. Ronke Posh, I want to run a private school in Nigeria. Please, how can I go about it? I do not really see anything online.
Yes, that was my challenge. When I came, I didn't find anything online. I didn't even know where to just register the school. Automatically, you would assume you would go to the Ministry of Education and register the school. I went there and they told me that's not where the register is. What they register is? Eventually, I found out that it's somewhere called the Ministry of Women Affairs. Now it's no longer the Ministry of Women Affairs, it's now the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. So it's changed. So I understand what you mean by there's no information out there. Now, if you want to start a school in Nigeria, you really need to have your why. Why do you want to start a school in Nigeria? Because if you love children or education, the value chain for education, there are about 106 things that you can do as an educator without owning a school. And that is what people do not know. And if I knew what I knew now, I probably wouldn't, as much as the school brings me joy, if I knew what I know now then, I probably wouldn't have a school, and I would probably even have significantly more money than I do now. So know the reason why you want to open the school. You can connect with me on social media. I can do some hand holding as much as I can, and if it needs some kind of coaching or consultancy, I can do that for you. However, know your why first. Why do you want to open a school in Nigeria?
Thank you. Thank you. Please connect with Ronke, please. Right, you've been mentioning why, and I believe Princess Kolashade asked that question before. She said, "Why write your why?" She wants to know.
So I write my why. So because I'm also someone that believes in a vision board, and I'm also someone that believes in the scripture, in that says in Habakkuk, write your vision and make it plain, so that men will see it and they will run with it. It's number one is biblical. Number two, there's a psychological thing about writing your vision down. You can track it, you can see it. I not only write down my vision, I put up pictures of what I want to do. By the time I put up pictures of me speaking to a large crowd, lo and behold, that time has come and gone. You can see it, you can connect. Your subconscious mind can see it and know that it's a reality. You look at it, you track it. It also makes you grateful for the things that God has done for you in your life. Because sometimes God is so grateful to us, so good to us, and we know that it's good to us and we thank Him, but we don't remember all the things that He has done for us. Because even when I was talking about the journey of self-discovery, I already have a book that I could just go through and just say, oh, what should I share? You know, there's so many things I can share. Just looking at the book, it's a journal of your life. It's a you should own. You write your why. You should also own a goals book, a prayer book, and a gratitude journal. Very, very important. Each day, what are you grateful for? What are the opportunities you are grateful for? There was a time that I would look for. I would want them to call me to. I would desire to share something, but nobody will call me. But now they call me almost this COVID, especially at the beginning. Almost every single day, I had a speaking engagement or more. Tomorrow I have another one. I'm constantly, and a lot of them are paid. I'm constantly in one thing. And this was a vision for me a long time ago. So write the vision and make it plain. Make it plain so that men will see it and they will run with it. Your children will see, your grandchildren will see it, and they will learn from it and they will give glory to God because you did it.
Thank you very much for that. Abdullahi Abdul Majid, thank you very much. He's saying it is not bad for a woman to earn more than the man, but it is important for the woman to be submissive. Thank you very much for your comments.
Oh, Dr. Abdul Majid, this is my own personal professor and doctor. We had this conversation yesterday, and I'm going to tell him that this submission, we must always remember that even in the Word of God, that submission is first of all mutual. The man submits to the woman and the woman submits one-sided.
I was going to say we have to talk about this on another show because
exactly. But I spoke to him because he's my personal doctor. He's somebody that follows my work, and we support each other in the educational sector. And we talked about this yesterday when we were talking about the context of rape and marital rape. So I know that's why he was talking about it. So I had to put that in. Thanks, doctor. Thanks, professor.
They said she has sent you a friend request. Thank you. I believe you're going to attend to that later. Right. I've got another question.
I don't have room for friend requests. Sorry. I don't have room for friend requests. Just follow and send me a message because I'm over 5,000 now. But if you click on the follow and my group is Parent Right, Live Right, we can always connect.
Yes. Thank you for that. Right. Ronke Posh. The Bible says that foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod is discipline will drive it far away from that child. That is found in Proverbs 22:15. Do you support teachers smacking the children to instill discipline or to make them achieve good grades? This is what a parent wants to find out.
No. I just wanted it to be a resounding no. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. It's a no, 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 no. It may have worked. People may have thought it worked in the past, but it didn't work at all. That's why we have people that are messed up. A lot of the politicians we have today were smacked as children. How has it made our nation great? We are a nation of smackers and beaters and floggers, and you beat with a blender, beat with bulala, koboko, everything. But it hasn't changed anything. And insanity, they say, is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's not working. Some of the children will even bring their hand out because they know that's the worst that you can do. And they will carry on. It doesn't work. There are other ways. And I've said on my group that I'm going to be holding the hands of everybody, as many people as it takes, to journey with them on this journey of no smacking and no shouting. You can parent without shouting and smacking. It is possible. Teachers don't need to smack, parents don't need to smack, because it builds a psychological barrier between the parent and the child, or the teacher and the child, and they don't find you somebody that they can trust, they can run to. So you are taking away from the love bag as opposed to depositing in the love bag. So I can go on about the smacking thing, but the answer is no. There are other ways. Knowing the personality of the child, for example. But if you follow me, by tomorrow, I will also be sharing more tools to people about how they can parent without shouting and without smacking. I live it. It's my daily life. Even my marriage, I can't manage to shout.
Thank you very much. People want to follow you. I believe after today's show, a lot of people want to follow you, want to listen to you more. So my last question to you this afternoon is, where is your school located, and how can people connect with you anytime they want to?
Okay, so thank you. My school is located at Parkview Estate, Ikoyi. Lagos is on the island. That's where we are based. If you say Le Posh School, you can find us on the internet. We have a website, www.leposhschool.com. If you want to connect with me, just type in at Ronke Posh. Every other Ronke Posh is a counterfeit. I'm the only original one with the usual hairstyles and everything. I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about parenting and so many things. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. Just type in Ronke Posh. Anything that doesn't look like me is a counterfeit.
Wow, thank you. It's been, oh my God, I don't even know the right words to use to describe. Awesome. You've been
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for agreeing to come and bless us this afternoon. I have enjoyed it, and I believe all of our viewers this afternoon have, and people that will watch it again as well, will be blessed by what you have shared this afternoon. Thank you very much. On a journey. Journey to discovery is not something that you discover straight away. It is a journey, and that is why you get to learn beat by beat about yourself. And as you learn, it's good to always give out. But one thing that I found out in life is, anytime we fall, we should be quick to rise up, get up again. Don't stay there, don't remain there. And any baggages that you carry along the line, be quick to drop them off, because it will be good and easier for you to move without any baggages. When you're light, you can move like a light, you can move like a thunder, and you'll be able to get to where God is taking you when you are light. You see, all these baggages, the only thing they do is all this baggage that we carry, the only thing they do is drag us down and hold us down, not to get to our destiny. But on this journey of discovery, take God with you. That is the only person that is your manufacturer that will reveal your true identity to you. You're wonderfully and fearfully made by God, and He has designed you, created you for a specific purpose.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity. God bless you.
Love you all.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Knowledge Blueprint. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, get the notifications, hit the bell, and share with friends and family. Check out other videos. Bye.